Would you like to transform your fears into freedom? Then you're in the right place today. I'm so happy you're joining me for our little chat today. In today's challenging times, it's natural to look in the rearview mirror and remember the good old days. Or you can be extremely anxious about the future and uncertain times. So if you're living in the past, you become senile. If you're living in the future, you're living on someday aisle. Buddha taught the secret of health for both mind and body is not to mourn for the past, worry about the future, or anticipate troubles, but to live in the present moment wisely and earnestly. Our show today is being brought to you by StreamYard. Put the power of live streaming video to work for your business, your brand, or your cause. We're using StreamYard to deliver this program to you live right now. You can be a pro and stream live to Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and more. Go to StreamYardCause.com to sign up for your free account. That's StreamYardCause.com. So the era of doing to be is passing away. Spiritual seekers of all faiths and walks of life focus on that next new revelation, my guest says. His new book, The Nowest, Finding the Signs to Your Ultimate Desires in No Time, is a spirituality work that will light your way to fully commit to the present moment and learn your deepest truths within. I feel like Oprah today because I am giving all of you a free copy of the book just for being here today. But you have to stay tuned. So stay tuned, and I'm going to share a link a little bit later in the program so you can get your free copy of the book, The Nowest, Finding the Signs to Your Ultimate Desires in No Time. My guest will show you today that you do have the power to change your life closer than near and sooner than now. The seeking is a journey that points us back to the treasured place. My guest lives in Santa Barbara, California with his wonderful wife, Desa Marie, and their incredible daughter, Gianna. He claims he fell in love with his wife and Santa Barbara simultaneously. He says, this is the magical city that brought us together more than 25 years ago. My guest today is Billy Mandarino. Billy, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Cause. It's my pleasure and honor to be here with you, brother.
So how did you meet your lovely wife?
I lived in Santa Cruz at the time, and my father is an incredible builder, and I had just come from New York, and I was a professional model in New York. And long story short, the last 5 days I spent in the Big Apple as a big-time model, I didn't eat for 5 days. I had no food for 5 days. So I went back to Santa Cruz and said, hey, Dad, I want to work for you. I want to take my shirt off and get sweaty and just be physical. And I ended up being in Santa Barbara doing music much later. Santa Cruz became like the impetus for our whole this shift in my life. So my wife was going to school at UCSB, and I'd never been to Santa Barbara before. It just blew me away. I've been to Santa Cruz, born there, raised in Spokane, but back in Santa Cruz. I ended up driving down to Santa Barbara, to visit my wife one day. We met in Lake Havasu, Arizona, and she was on spring break. I didn't go to college. And she's in Lake Havasu on the end of a boat in a pink tube top and looking amazing, looking hot. And I was there thinking, okay, I'm focused on other things, not focused on girls right now. Lo and behold, turns out that we had this connection and that synchronicity that brought me to Lake Havasu, Arizona, that spring break in 1992 turned out to be like the impetus for our love affair. And then I drove down to Santa Barbara, met her at her school for a big event. And it was a Kappa Kappa event for her sorority. And I just fell in love with her in Santa Barbara at the same time. We've been married over 25 years now. And Santa Barbara to me is paradise.
How are things in Santa Barbara? Still locked down? What's going on?
Our beaches never closed. We, our restaurants are starting to open, and the weather is like 90 degrees yesterday. It's incredible. It's literally a paradise. Voltaire says, paradise is where I am. And, he's speaking as a philosopher, but paradise, is truly where you are. It's your awareness. It's what you make of it. It's how you use your words and your focus that creates that paradise. I'm just lucky and blessed enough to live in the American Riviera, which is Santa Barbara. So I don't ever take it for granted.
Well, to your point, paradise is wherever we are, because I guess we'll debate later, where is paradise? Because I was thinking I am in paradise. So, well, at least we have that in common. We're not in the same place, but we are both in paradise. Tell us about your incredible daughter, Gianna.
So Gianna is a middle schooler now, and she is just the light of our world. We were married 11 years before we had a daughter. We didn't want kids. We were both too selfish. I was caught up, focused on becoming a musician and an artist and getting a recording contract. And my wife is an incredible, award-winning teacher. She was County Teacher of the Year here in the Santa Barbara County in 2011. So we were just focused pretty much on ourselves and on our purpose for the world. Kids just didn't fit in. And one day, after about 11 years of marriage, we said, we absolutely have to have a child. It was like Gianna was up in heaven just saying, hey, come on, man, bring me into the world. I'm ready to change this world. So she is this light in our lives, and she's so talented and beautiful and just compassionate and caring. And she's just the light. She's like that to anybody that meets her.
How did she deal with the lockdown? Not having school those last few months.
Zoom. There's this thing in Santa Barbara called Zoomers to Boomers. I don't know if you've heard about it, Cause.
No, I haven't. So
it's these teenagers that have truly taken on, this challenge and decide to pay it forward and to help those less fortunate. So my daughter's from this era of Zoomers and boomers are those boomers, right? The baby boomers that are the elderly of the community that have to, get prescriptions and groceries. And
careful now. My son calls me a boomer, although by years born, I really am not a boomer. I'm just outside the fringe, but he always says, hey, boomer.
Well, I'm sure it's out of love and affection, great affection for you.
Oh, is that what it is? I'll have to ask him.
It's got to be, man. Your heart is huge, Cause. It comes across, brother. It comes across.
They say your heart is as large as your frame. So I've got a big, big heart. Just
the Grinch, right, exploded out of that, man. When he figured out how to be of service and give, right? That story of the Grinch, how his heart was two sizes too small. It just boom, it breaks the boundaries. And that's what these Zoomers did. These Zoomers to Boomers program where they help the elderly. They don't have money, but they give those less fortunate, especially the elderly community, and helping them get groceries, pick up prescriptions, buy food for them. Just they do it without anything, hoping to get a payment or anything, not even a thank you. They just do it. So my daughter kind of comes from that era, and that's the bright light that's coming out of this tragedy and this tough time for us all, is that people are finding ways to be of service that are creative and new and fresh. And that's what I love about my daughter. She has this same mind of how can I give, not so much what's in it for me, which is kind of a shift. When you get locked down for that long, the reality, kind of the litmus test for a lot of people's being, it comes out of them. And I think of Dr. Wayne Dyer. Do you know who Dr. Wayne Dyer is, Cause?
Yea, verily.
Oh my gosh.
I wake up every day and try to be intentional.
Oh my God. He changed my life. And he's largely the inspiration for this book. I mean, he was kind of the impetus for me to bring this book into the world. And he used to tell this story where he would throw oranges out before his talks and for his keynote speeches. And then he wouldn't get to it right away. He would just let these people hold the oranges for a while. And then eventually he'd say, what is this? And someone would say, an orange. He says, if you squeeze this, what comes out? And he usually would call a little kid in the audience and they'd say, orange juice. He says, yeah, how do you know orange juice comes out of this? She would say, because that's what's inside. Meaning when you're squeezed, it doesn't matter what time of day you're squeezed, how you're squeezed, what kind of apparatus you use to squeeze the orange juice comes out. So what comes out of you when you're squeezed? What comes out of people when they're squeezed? Vitriol, stress, a quick remark, anxious behavior. So for me, the Zoomers and the Boomers and my daughter being part of this generation that's really being of service, we know what's inside them. So I ask your viewers and people listening, what's inside you when you're squeezed? Make sure it's kindness and giving that comes out of you.
Because Epictetus said, it's not circumstances who make the man, it just reveals him to himself. So these challenging times are just really a test of what's inside.
Truly. And you can choose what comes out of you and your habits. And that's what we're going to talk about probably a little later in this program, is how your habits rule your life and how are your consistent habits shaping your life and your day, and how are you being of service and showing up in the world. It's usually your habits. 96% of everything you do is a subconscious program habit that you've learned through habitual.
Well, let's stay right there for a second and tell us more about habits, because when push comes to shove, whether we're instinctual or habitual, right? When we're squozen or squeezed, my English teacher from high school is watching, then that produces something, our habits. So when we're under the squeeze and our habits come out, tell us more about our habits.
Okay, so I love William Wordsworth. He says, not choice, but habit rules the unreflecting herd. It's not our choice that makes the decision. It's our habits. At 96% of our subconscious programming. We get up every day and we look for that familiar part of us that is us, and we wake up and we think, okay, I'm going to just do what I did yesterday. It's kind of like Groundhog's Day. You're conditioned. You do the same thing. You might grab your phone, look for the same, text messages, or check your Facebook, send an email. And then after you get out of bed, you go to the coffee, go to the Keurig, right? You smell the coffee, think, thank God I got coffee. I'm so tired. I'm just so beat from yesterday. And then you go watch TV, maybe watch the news, which makes you, overwhelmed with negativity and fear and worry and anxiety, because you've become, this process, this habit, this pattern of living day in and day out. And so what happens is when you wake up, you're automatically just releasing the subconscious programming without any awareness, without any ability to affect your life, because you're in this loop, this pattern, this loop, and you do it without awareness because you're just literally in this program, this subconscious program. And that's what happens to most of us, is we just, without awareness, get up, we do the same thing over and over again, and we expect our life to change. We expect something to get better. We're a victim. But when you take control of your habits and your rituals, that's the power, because you programmed your subconscious mind. You wake up in the morning, you're in gratitude. You put your hand on your heart, you're in gratitude. You're in thanksgiving for whatever is in your awareness at the moment. Maybe you're thinking about how great your day is going to be. You're so thankful for your family, for your health. So thankful that you have a roof, that you have a job. For the people that don't have jobs or have money, thankful in this moment what you have. Then you get out of bed, and then you go to the next thing. Okay, then I'm going to do a brief meditation. I'm going to start the day in a positive energy. I'm going to download this inspirational feeling, which will increase serotonin in your body, because the cortisol that's usually programmed into your system is going to be firing off without you even think about it, because you've created yourself in this habitual way of living. We automatically wake up and your body searches for that familiar sense that is you, but it automatically fires off cortisol because you're in this habit. It looks for it. But when you can start new habits, like Wordsworth says, not choice, but habit rules the unreflecting herd. When you make a choice to make a new habit, you create a new programming. And then when you're part of this reflecting herd, this unreflecting herd that just kind of goes out through life and just does what the Joneses do and just kind of falls in this pattern, there's nothing new that can show up in your life, because you're not in a new pattern, a new habit, a new habitual way of living. That's what being an nowist is. A nowist is somebody who lives 90% of your day in present moment awareness, and 10% of the day it hits the fan, it goes sideways, but you just correct quickly. You know how to get out of that pattern because it feels bad, it feels negative. That's not your natural state of being. And when you can live that way, this unreflecting herd that we are all part of, you start to have awareness, you start making new choices, you condition yourself. So you start living in this new pattern. And this pattern stacks on the next pattern, the next day. Before it, you start living as a nowist. It's not that simple, but that's how it starts.
So if we always do what we've always done, we'll always get what we've always got, right? That was buying you a second to grab your beverage there. And if you've got a beverage at home, please grab a beverage.
Salute.
Salute. That's right. Here we go.
I'm Italian, so salute.
Salute. Well, here, let me, just for you, I'll have pasta tonight or something. Good Lord, I have more pasta. I got to break that habit.
My grandma made bread. She called it the staff of life.
Ooh, amen. See, if I could just stop with the bread, right? I mean, it's when you go to Olive Garden, you're like, but I'm getting the soup and salad, but it's the endless breadsticks.
It's the free. People get caught up in the free.
Oh, there's no free anything, right?
Yeah, 3 calories, not.
Yeah, no. It was like when I had that third piece of cheesecake last night, and my son was like, dude, isn't that like your third piece? And I was like, I didn't count these two. But everything.
I'm in it now, baby. I'm just enjoying this one right in front of me.
That's right. And that was before we even had a meal, because I believe in desserts first.
Life's short. Eat your dessert first.
Amen. And life's kind of long to be bored too. So, right? Live as though each day's your last, but plan like you're going to live for 100 years. So let's talk about the now, because I have this discussion all the time. And I think really the difference is, we talk about in the world of self-improvement, you can be, have, and do anything that you want. And most people focus on the have, right? Ooh, if I have this, I'll be happy. If I have that, I'll be happy. or if I do this, I'll be happy, or if I do this with them, or if I have this together. So it's really become a world of do and have for the most part. But years ago, I was started on this journey of just being. If we just be, then the do and have will follow. So let's talk about being present. How do we become more present in the moment, as opposed to looking in the rearview mirror? That's a reason why it's little, right? Or if we're living too far into the future, we're living on someday Isle. So how do we stay grounded and live in the now?
So as you brilliantly said, I love that analogy of, the windscreen. My car has a huge windscreen, but it has this little teeny rearview mirror, right? Now, if you drive that car, and you're looking in that little rearview mirror and you're going 70 miles down the freeway, you're going to crash. And that's what most people do, is they spend a lot of time.
You can use that, by the way.
Well, it's in my book, actually. So.
Oh, is it really?
It's in my book.
Okay.
Yeah. So you are channeling the nowist, brother.
I didn't finish the book yet. I've just always said that. Wow. You can't.
And it's not mine. I don't know who said it. I just
okay. Well, I always thought it was an original thought, but obviously not, because I heard it somewhere. Then
it's okay. You know what? There's universal truths. There's they never said Jesus was plagiarizing Lao Tzu, who wrote the Tao Te Ching 500 years before Jesus was born. But they're spiritual, divine truths, and they're out there for all of us to connect to. It's just, do you connect? Like you're talking about being. We're human. It sounds corny, but we're human beings, not human doings. But we are all in the doing mode. We're all in the seeking mode. We're all in the mode of scarcity and lack. And I've always said, how could the God of oneness ever recognize two-ness? If the God of oneness recognized two, it wouldn't be one. We have to connect to that presence, that I am presence. That is the name of God. I mean, the beginning of Exodus, I don't want to go on a preaching on my pulpit, but Moses was told at the burning bush that God's name was I am that I am. And that will be my name for all generations. How do you use your I ams? How do all of us use our I ams? I am is the name of God. I mean, how do you use that? I am sick. I'm tired. I am poor. I'm lonely. I am sad.
Were you reading my Facebook? Because that was a post, 2 days ago? It just said, I am. Whatever you put behind that determines on who you will be.
So my book.
You're like kindred brothers, brother.
It's in my book, brother. My book.
That's in your book too?
My book. It's in my book.
I didn't get all the way through it. I didn't get to the rearview mirror or that. This is kind of crazy, but
it's called
that's why I believe in this kind of stuff, because here you and I are talking about it.
Have you heard of the word synchronicity?
It was a great album by the Police. I think it was about 1982.
Right. That's the sonic version. That's the version that changed my life, because I'm a musician. The Police, oh my gosh, Every Breath You Take, Roxanne, those songs changed my life.
I won't sing them. I know you're a musician. If we have time, we'll maybe.
I can tell that beautiful deep tone you have. You're a baritone, right? You can sing some sweet music.
I can't carry a tune in a bucket. So we'll just, all my life, I wish that I could sing. And if you heard me sing, you'd wish that I could too.
Well, right now we're in this duet of synchronicity, which is beautiful, because synchronicity means that, you think the universe is just having this random happenstance, this joyful coincidence just happens, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just this random occurrence. But Carl Jung coined that phrase. Synchronicity means like this random occurrence actually is the universe conspiring with you to serve you. And it shows up in signs, it shows up in numbers, it shows up in people and inspiration, just like us. I mean, just talking today, and you're bringing up things that are in my book. They're universal truths, just like Lao Tzu writing the Tao Te Ching 2,500 years ago, and the Bible being written 2,000 years ago. A lot of those teachings are the similar truths and the similar teachings, because they're divine teachings. When you align with these teachings, you are in synchronistic flow and your timing is good. That's why the subtitle to my book is Finding the Signs to Your Ultimate Desires in No Time. No time is out of time. It's in the now. And living in the present moment is your great power. When I was, really quick story about how I found the present moment. I was a pole vaulter in high school. And I'm from 6 kids. My mom and dad got divorced when I was 7. And my father, being an incredible craftsman and an amazing, just human being. He's the rock. I call him Pa. I lovingly call him Pa. And he is the rock of our family. He's just this amazing, powerful, sagacious soul. And he worked so hard. And after they got divorced, I knew that college was going to be on me. The money wasn't there. The college was going to be on me. So I compete my junior year and I get second in state. I figured, okay, this senior year of my high school life, I'm going to just focus on pole vault. I'm not going to play basketball in the winter. So I just focused in and practice for this big meet. So I'm in the Kibbe Dome in Idaho, long story short, and I'm competing. The bar is set to 15 feet, and I run as fast as I can. I plant my pole and I swing upside down and backwards, and bam, my pole breaks. My head hits the back of the box, and I'm laying looking at the bar, but I can't see. I'm totally blind. I see nothing, and my head is gushing, and this arm has got hamburgers like shredded from the fiberglass raking across my arm. And all of a sudden, these little stars start showing up, and then I see that the bar, I realize I hit my head so hard I lost my vision. And so fast forward to my senior year, I never left the ground. I was so afraid, so living in that past that I couldn't move on. I mean, how many people can relate with a traumatic event that happens in your life where you live in that rearview mirror you were talking about? You know, that big windscreen, which is your opportunity, your present moments, but you're living in that little teeny rearview mirror, and you crash into everything because you're not focused on in the present. You're not focused on what's right there in the moment. You're looking backwards to your past. So I looked so much. Then when I got to New York and I got the big time modeling contract, I was still living a year later, living in that same fear, living in that same worry, and that something that broke, that courage that broke in me with that pole. It was constantly broken. And it wasn't until, I got through that, and I starved for 5 days. The last 5 days I was in New York as a model because I was out of money. I was just another face in the Big Apple. Just the Big Apple chewed me up and spit me out. I was going to take a bite out of the Big Apple. It chewed. I was a rotten apple by the time I left. So when I left, I just drunk deeply of spiritual books. I just went all in. I was like the spiritual sponge, if you will, just taking in anything I could to get out of this thinking, this mind-made self that was so focused on my past. And I found my salvation in one word, N-O-W. What does that spell?
Now.
What does that spell backwards?
Won.
Yes. When you're in the now, you've won. You've won your presence back. You've won that opportunity to not look in that rearview mirror, to not look in your past, to not expect your future to be different because you're judging it by this past, and you always crash into something. Your life always falls apart again, just like mine did. So it was in my experience of learning about the present moment, learning how to live in that present moment consistently, becoming a nowist. So my book is really a spiritual memoir of my journey, and there's also principles and precepts and practices and rituals of how to live that way and how to get into the present moment. So I'm in the now, I've won. I realize that that's my greatest power. And using that present moment awareness, along with your imagination and giving, creates this avalanches of abundance, emotionally, socially, spiritually, financially. And that's what happened in my life, is I just lived in that space. Then the book came through me, and now I'm teaching thousands of people how to do the same.
So everyone watching today, or watching or listening to the rebroadcast, either as the video or the podcast at the Cause Green audio experience, you too can get a copy of The Nowist absolutely free. But we're not going to tell you how yet. You got to stay with us for a few more minutes. So that's coming up. That's your little reward for being in the now. A few minutes from now, when we share with you how you can get a copy of The Nowist. So how do we cut through all these fears and doubts with this really sharp knife that you talk about?
Okay, so that's a quote from my book. Thank you very much for the setup. So your imagination.
That's what I do, buddy.
Your imagination is the sharpest knife to cut fear and doubt out of your life. That's a quote from my book. And that's what I learned living in that broken, high school kid, this 18, 19-year-old kid that was just, lost. And then to go the next year to New York, my mind was focused on images of the past. I couldn't get beyond that. And everything was a self-sabotage. Everything was a lack and a scarcity and don't have enough of this. And I'm not good enough for this. And just living in that mentality, that comparison mentality. If I have to do this to be successful, I have to get a college scholarship. I have to be a big time model to be loved or to be successful. And Mark Twain says, comparison is the death of joy. And that so resonated with me when I learned that. And I thought, okay, there it is. Right now, we're in this comparison mentality, aren't we, Cause? Like, I love that song it's called Sick Boy. And it by the Chainsmokers, says, how I feed yourself with my life's works. How many likes is my life worth? Is that good? And I think of the comparison mentality that I lived in.
That's worth repeating. Say that one more time, because we're living in the now of, if I don't get 200 likes right now to this, I'm going to go jump off a building.
How sad is that? I know of a 10-year-old girl that was bullied on Instagram that committed suicide. 10, because somebody, put a picture up and made fun of her on Instagram or Snapchat, and she committed suicide. I mean, there it is. There's the comparison mentality. Sorry to use a morbid, quote from Mark Twain, but it fits so perfectly. The comparison, right?
The reality
is the death of joy. And then the Chainsmokers had this brilliant song, "Feed yourself with my life's works. How many likes is my life worth?" So I think of that poor girl. I'm getting chills right now thinking about her, because I'm just feeling the tragedy that is, because we are in this comparison mentality, and it's the death of joy. And the joy is living in the present moment. The joy is, how do you find that energy? How do you find that detachment from this fake thing that we call time? Illusion says the illusion of time. Einstein says time is an illusion. And it is, because it tricks you. It tricks you of their future. It tricks you from the past, because they say 50% of everything that we, replay in our imagination is actually wrong. A memory is creative. Like when we recall it, 50% of people recall the inaccurate past memory. So if you're losing, this awareness through an illusion, there's a huge problem with that. And I think that's how the bane of society has been, this comparison mentality. It's been, how many likes is my life worth? It's been, I've got to compete with the Joneses. I have to measure up to everybody, or I'm not going to feel love. Because that's ultimately what we're all trying to do. We all just want to be loved, and we all want to be okay. We all just want to feel like we're enough. But it's an illusion. The present moment is where the growth is. The unknown is where the growth is. In the present moment, using your imagination, because that's the sharpest knife. If you focus on your past, if I'm thinking about competing, as I did my senior year in track, I was thinking about that event, a qualifying high. I couldn't even leave the ground because my body was sweating so profusely, and I was so focused on the pain of going blind, that physical trauma. I was living in that past. And then I go a year later to New York, and I'm still living in that failure. And so how do I succeed when I'm living in that rearview mirror? And that's what most people do. That's why this work I do as teaching the Nowist principles, and in the book, and I speak online. I've been a national speaker all over the United States. I'm in Italy, in Mexico, teaching people how to get in that present moment more consistently. And that's my great mission. That's my dharma. My purpose is to create a legion of Nowists, a legion of people that help shift this planet by present moment awareness, by using your imagination to focus on what it is you want, not this replica false image of your past.
What else can we do to live in the now?
So it starts with your habits. And we talked about that a little bit earlier, about your ritual. I have a YouTube channel. It's Billy Mandarino, the Nowist. I've got 500 plus videos of teaching on there, free teaching. You don't have to pay me anything. I just post these videos consistently, teaching people how to have consistent takeaways and significant processes in your life. And it starts with rituals, with habits. Like Wordsworth says, we're all ruled by this habitual herd mentality. But with awareness, if you start new habits, and one of my videos teaches you the morning rituals, the Nowist daily rituals. And the Nowist meditation that I've created, it takes 1 minute. And you learn to do this in the morning, throughout your day. It's one of the most powerful things I do to stay in present moment awareness, and to use my imagination when I get stressed and overwhelmed. I'm a property manager. I manage a gaggle of properties. I'm a realtor. That's why I monetize the Nowist mission. That's how giving me the funds to get this mission out to the world. As a real estate advisor, I find people are overwhelmed with this big purchase, or with, their property being managed and water heater blows up. And I'm just that calm only because I practice myself into presence, and it can be taught. And I want to teach anybody that's willing or feels inspired to learn it, because through the book, through the teachings, I do one-on-one coaching. I have one-on-one Nowist, kind of inspiring one-on-one meetings, a 12-week program. It's about doing the work. But if you want to learn the beginning of the Nowist teachings, you get the book. You go to my YouTube channel, you log into any of my information that I have about teaching these principles, and you can make this new habit. And this habit's what's going to shift you out of the old thinking into the new form of present moment awareness, which is really who you are. You come from that. You're not born in fear and worry and anxiety. You're born in this pure present moment child that comes in the world. It's the world that programs you. And as Buckminster Fuller says, the world de-geniuses you. You are a genius when you're born. It's just the world takes you out of your genius.
No doubt. We go to public school and they beat the genius and creativity right out of us, right? Because they want us to conform. It was somebody like me that they're like, Cos, why can't you just be like everybody else? And I wish I wouldn't have listened to them. How many times was I squelched, or how many times was I put into this box? they're trying to move 30 kids in a class. Well, let's get that one outlier to, be herded with the other 29. And some of us were left behind in that respect. And you had to find it for yourself. And anybody who knows me from my youth can tell you I was not a conformist in the things that I did. And we've got to be willing to have the courage to dance to that drummer and not the herd mentality.
And that's the comparison that we all fall into. Mark Twain, the comparison is the death of joy. And that's what we all fall into because we're programmed. If you watch the news, it's shifted from Corona to this tragic thing that's going on with the Black America and the Black world. And I just send so much love and peace and thoughts in my prayer every morning. I just send this joy out to serve that community and this peace to serve that community that's going through so much struggle. And I saw that piece up with DeMar Jones you did on your show. It was just brilliant. And he hit me right in the heart and he was just right on point. And I just feel like people are obese with information. There's this word in my book. It's called infobesity. We are obese with information because we watch the news constantly. We're inundated by negativity. And that's part of your habits. And as a nowist, you don't program yourself with negativity. And if you watch the news before you go to bed, that's strike one. Because the last thought you have in your subconscious mind, it sits there for 4 hours. So if you're watching the news and how many Corona deaths there are, I send love out to those people that have passed and those people that are sick, because that's how we change this whole thing is by changing our point of attraction. But if you are subconsciously programming your mind for 4 hours, it's going to make it. It's not going to sleep, wake in the morning with these things on your mind, heart, and then you watch the news again because you got to find out what's happening. This inundation, this infobesity is what's crushing the soul of America because they're not focused in presence. How can they use their imagination to change the way they react to the world and what they want to bring into the world instead of looking in the past? The present moment, whereas when you have everything you have in this present moment, that's all you need. In this present moment, when there's nothing to do, you're only being done. As it says in the book, Lao Tzu, you're not doing anything, you're just being done. So that's about the human being part, not the human doing. So when you live in that presence and you're not obese with information and you choose new habits, your breath, of course, you've heard that 1,000 times is the best way to connect. I agree with you. You connect to your breath, you use your awareness and your focused imagination on what it is you want, and you do it habitually. So you program that subconscious part of your brain, which becomes a new habit when you wake up in the morning. Then all of a sudden you have serotonin firing through your body, not cortisol. You have this new ritual. All of a sudden there's just a stacking effect that goes on. And eventually you say, whoa, I'm a new person. I am optimistic. I feel inspired because the chemistry is confirming your thoughts. Your imagination is confirming your thoughts, and your point of attraction in the Bible is called the point of identical harvest. It's like the law of attraction. When you become this being of connected energy in this present moment, use your imagination to focus on it, the universe will conspire with you and bring all these images and these sequential events into your life. And your life will change because you have a new habit, you have a new point of attraction, and you get clear on what it is you want. There's so much minutia out there with this infobesity that we get lost in the stream. This inertia of living takes people out of their present moment awareness. But I'm here to help. It's my mission. I'm going to create this legion of nowists, and I'm going to continue to do it. And I'm never going to stop because I feel like it's my purpose and it's what I can do to serve the world and do my part.
Well, whatever I can do to help you, that's a great and worthy, fulfilling mission. So how do we, and this sounds very simple, but how do we change that diet so we're not obese? The same way, that's kind of a rhetorical question, right? I know if I would just shut my pie hole a little more often, that would have an impact on my caloric intake. But when we talk about this obesity of information, is it just stopping? Is it changing the diet completely because we're watching so much garbage? We got to get off the saturated fats and crappy carbs and change the diet. Talk about that a little bit more.
Absolutely. You're right on to it, Cause. That's what it is. Think about the habitual way we eat, and we also are paid off. We know that carbs give us serotonin hits. Sugar gives us a serotonin hit. They call it comfort food for a reason, because there's a chemical reaction that happens when you eat carbs, when you eat sugar. It just gives you stress eating. Everyone knows about that, right? People aren't addicted to drugs and alcohol. Food's is an addictive food just as any of them, because we get a chemical hit and it becomes addictive. Same thing with the news. It's our habits, it's our patterns. We are looking for the familiar chemistry that our body gives. And that's part of the ego. Dr. Wayne Dyer, brilliant Dr. Wayne, has this great acronym for ego. He calls it EGO, edging God out. When you're living in that ego, it's feeding us. So it's a diet of information, a diet of comparison mentality, and a diet of calories that are zero, that have no physical, healthy version of the thought, because the news is there. If it bleeds, it leads. It's trying to shock you into paying attention. It's not information, it's infobesity, because they're using that information to try and keep you watching so they can sell their ads, right? So you can consistently create this business. And I understand that, but you have to have awareness. You're waking up with a new habit. So it starts obviously with types of meditation. I understand some people meditate for 20, 30, an hour, 2 hours a day. My meditation takes 1 minute. The nowest meditation helps interrupt that pattern. So you have awareness. And when you breathe, that physiological part of your body relaxes. You actually decrease the stress. The cortisol comes out of your body. And you have presence, and you're relaxing your shoulders, and you're getting relaxed, and you're getting focused on what it is you want. And then you're repeating the four prayers in the nowest meditation. So the words that have the power are secreting energy into your subconscious mind. So you start this new habit. And if you consistently have a habit to get out of stress, and you do it consistently and habitually, and you're looking for ways to find peace throughout your day, through signs, through synchronicities, through things that are showing up in your life, because it's always there. The present moment is always in the room with you. How are you using your awareness to focus on it? You're focused on your past, your future. You're watching the news. You're talking about, gossiping with your friends on the phone, on your social media. I mean, that's just negativity you're putting out to the world. When you confuse your life with positivity, with paying it forward, PIF. This is a series of my book. It talks towards the end about PIF, pay it forward. When you can find a way to be of service to those less fortunate for you, you charge your point of attraction with kindness, with giving. And so if you can do these things, like getting a habitual way of living, breathe to relax, use your present moment awareness, your imagination to focus on what it is you want. And if manifestation is slowing down your life, find a way to be of service to somebody else that can't pay you back or can't even give you a thank you. When you start living that way, you find the present moment, and the present moment starts to find you, because you're acting like a present moment person, someone lives in perfect peace. It's crazy. It's being strong enough to do it, though. That's the work. Working into the present moment. It takes a habit. It takes awareness and a practice, but it can be taught just like anything. Football. I'm a musician playing the guitar. You have to kind of woodshed on it for a while and practice it, but it will get into your subconscious programming. Then you'll wake up, and each day will stack on the next. And before you know it, stress is melting away from you, and you are finding the present moment, and it's starting to find you.
Well, walk us through it. We have a minute.
Okay, so the meditation I'm going to go through it quickly, but I prefer after this, if you go to my YouTube channel, which is Billy Mandarino, The Nowest, and there is the Nowest morning rituals are there. And the 4 prayers are very simple. So I start every day this way. I mean, first I have gratitude in the morning when I wake up, my hands on my heart, because your heart is the most magnetic part of your body. When you're in resonance with that energy, there's a 9-foot energy field that emotes from your body. So if you're covering your heart with your hands, and you're there and you're giving gratitude, and then I get up and I stand in front of my mirror and the screen window that looks out towards the ocean, and I say these 4 prayers. I say, I am that I am, the conquering presence in the now. I have nothing to do, only to be done. I am altogether God, and God is altogether me. And the last one is, I am the light of the world. And there's kind of there's an arm motion, there's a breath that goes with it. But those are the 4 prayers. And I'll teach them to you on my YouTube channel. You can just put it on a loop and you memorize that. And that brings you instantly into presence. Cause I do this when I'm driving down the street with my eyes open. Yes, my hands are at 10 and 2 and I'm watching the road, but I'm doing this and I'm looking what's called divergent meditations or open-eyed focus, where I'm saying those 4 things and I'm imagining myself kind of hovering above the world, and I'm in this present moment awareness. And imagine, Cause, if you were above the world right now, if I shot you above the planet and you're up there and you're looking at the stars and the satellite and this blue curve of the earth, I mean, could you feel the gravity of your problems right here? Could you feel the stress of this time-bound world? You couldn't, because you're in such awe. So my 1-minute meditation, I use my imagination, because remember, that's the sharpest knife to cut the fear and doubt out of your life. I use my imagination to be up there while I'm saying the 4 nowest prayers. And you're up there and you're breathing in a slow pattern. It takes a minute, but I do it while I'm driving too. I use this divergent focus, this open-eyed focus. So when I feel stress in my work life, with business, with emails, with deals falling apart, or water heaters blowing up from my property management business, I can get in the present moment and I can focus while I'm driving the appointment, or I'm just getting off the phone with that email, or just some stressor is hitting me. I can get into that moment, but I do it consistently, and it takes 1 minute. And you do it over and over again when you feel stressed. Then you start to train the subconscious part of your body. You start to train the chemistry of your body, not to look for serotonin when you're stressed out, but it'll start to upregulate better chemistry. The serotonin will upregulate in your body. The cortisol will downregulate. And it's scientifically proven. And I live this way, and it creates this hardwired programming in my psychology and my brain and my thinking that I just know how to stress. I know how to stress out and then be calm. I can get stressed out and then I can get instantly calm because it's already a program that's running that 96% of my autonomic nervous system, that subconscious programming. It's in action. So doing this corona thing we're all going through, the COVID thing that we've been going through as a family and as a people, and here in my own nuclear family, I find that the stressors haven't hit me that hard. I've found that I have a way to serve people in a much bigger way because I've allowed myself to live in this presence throughout the day. So I'm not stressed and following the masses off the cliff in this stressful life that we're living in, this focused on, oh gosh, is it ever going to change? Are we always going to be Zooming at school? All right, was my daughter going to be stuck constantly in Zoom her next year in school? All these negative thoughts. Are people going to go back to work? Are people going to get the money that they deserve in their jobs? Are they going to be able to actually go back and interact with people? Those thoughts are right there to stress us. But when you live this way as a nowist, you start to program your subconscious mind. And that's the work that I have done for years now. So it's like any immune system almost, like you've upregulated your immunity. And speaking of immunity, I haven't had a cold or a flu for 7 years because when you live this way, your immune system upregulates. The stressors don't hit you because you know how to get that system, the gene expression of your body, the epigenetic expression of your cells actually get healthier and stronger. And it's one thing that I teach as well is how to upregulate your immune system.
Anxiety is so rampant in our society. Isn't really the source of anxiety living into the future, creating those worst case scenarios? And frankly, because we know that the mind cannot tell the difference between a real event and one that is vividly imagined, we are so good at making these disaster movies, right? Titanic would be a simple little drama compared to what we create in our heads every day. How do we stop that movie from playing over and over again?
You said it exactly. It's a mental movie. And from the book, I talk about the mental movie that you play in your head. And to speak to the good side of that first cause, then I'll revisit like how we get out of anxiety and how we deal with stress and these constant worldly stress that come in this time-bound world. But I when I think of being with my daughter, when I imagine us being together at the beach, or even if we're physically together at the beach, or we're playing golf, or we're just in the park, I'm being a musician. Music, I actually hear audible music in my ears. I hear like a string quartet, or I'll hear like this cool, this cello, or just this timpani, or my life is scored with music because I feel like I am somebody who is music, and music is what I am. It's not something I aspire to do. I am music. So throughout life, I live in that musical sense. I call it being a conscious conductor. In my book, one of the chapters is being a conscious conductor, how to live in that conscious awareness throughout your day. So when being a musician, when I live that way, it just feels effortlessly just like walking through the day. There's nothing to do, just being done. But when you get in anxiety, what happens is that screeching guitar, those crash cymbals, like you just get caught up in this heavy metal like beat. Like you just feel it upregulating in your body. You feel the tension. Your shoulders are tight. Your stomach hurts because you've got more neurons in your stomach than in your head. So your gut is feeling tense and tight because your focus, if you tuned in with your body, you realize this stress, this cortisol is coursing through your body, but it's your mind that's having this visceral experience because you are focused on the angst, the anger, the stress. Your whole body is tuned in to that soundtrack that's playing on your day, but it's playing with screeching guitar and screeching chalkboards and out of tune and dissonant noises because you live in that emotion. And feeling is the secret. When you're feeling it, there's this thinking, feeling loop that happens in your mind and your body. Dr. Joe Dispenza, who's a brilliant teacher about crossing that bridge between the scientific world and the spiritual world. And he's taught people how to upregulate, the better hormones in their body, the serotonins, get the cortisol down. I learned a lot from him. But when it comes to anxiety and stress, it's usually because we're in this thinking, feeling loop. we're thinking about something, then we're feeling it in our body and we're experiencing it in our body, then it creates upset stomach, it creates stress, it creates tension. And so you can't be creative. There's no room for this new idea to come into your thought. That's why imagination is the sharpest knife to cut the doubt and fear out of your life, because you can go from a stressed place and you can obviously breathe and you can connect and you can focus on what it is you want, and you cannot allow that old thought to come in. You can't allow that pattern, that old pattern way of thinking, but it takes the work. It takes the work and a new habit to interrupt that pattern. But it starts with making a clarity in a moment of awareness that says, okay, here it is. I am in stress. I feel it come, I feel it in my neck. I feel it in my lower back. My hands are clenched. The energy is just being sucked into my body. And how you move your body, the quickest way, as everybody knows, to get out of stress is to take a breath. You just relax, because your shoulders relax, your physiology relax. Then if you can get into your imagination, you get into a pattern of thinking. You get into a pattern of thinking from the end, if this is already done how you want it to be. And I don't believe in setting goals. To get on a tangent here about thinking from the end, about the end, I used to set goals, and I think about how I would get caught up in the anxiety of being in New York and hoping that I would get a go-see. I go on a go-see, which is for models. That is a time where you get to look at your book. They'll take a Polaroid of you and they'll hopefully get you for the job. I was thinking, I got to get a job. So I was thinking, oh man, I got to get a job. I got to do 10 interviews today, 10 go-sees to try and get a job when I was in New York. And I always came from a place of fear. I always felt tense when I would sit there with all 20 other models and worrying about, am I going to get it? Instead of, before I left for that meeting, if I had the awareness I do now, then I would sit there and I would imagine myself in the room getting the interview, feeling how well that was going, connecting to that end instead of about the end. About the end is two-ness. Thinking about the end is it's sometime in the future. From the end is if it's happening right now. So I'm thinking from the end instead of about the end. And that's what I do with anxiety and fear. I'm in this moment. I feel like a stressor's coming on. I would just get to that place that's out of fear and anxiety with my breath, with my imagination. And you do that consistently, you hardwire your physiology. That's that subconscious programming I'm talking about. You become one with the experience. You become one with that energy that is in presence because you've trained yourself into it. Then when the stressors hit you, you've got this immunity built up. We're talking about this physical immunity, against the coronavirus. You also have the spiritual immunity, living as a nowist. So you can create this powerful superhero ability within your psyche and this energy field of your body to deal with the stressors when they come. You have to do the work. You have to have the practicing. As a musician, we call it woodshedding, just practicing and practicing. But the results come faster than you think, because when you're in the present moment, when you're in the now, you've won. And you do that consistently, you're going to win out against the anxiety, against the fear, against the stressors that come in your life, because you're prepared. You have an immunity to it. And that's the work.
So for those watching and listening that are saying, come on, you can't just flip a switch. It's not that fast. It's not at first, because you're falling back onto old habits. But through woodshedding, the process, you can get it to where you literally can flip the switch.
Yeah. And if it was just a quick fix, just like anything, is it going to stick? Right? If you eat a certain kind of unhealthy food, does it really stick with you? Does it give you nutrients for your body? Is it going to give you like the power and the energy you need to be your best? And your mind's going to be super clear with all that carb and all that sugar crap and going through your head? When you have clean living, when you live in a new habit, I know it's hard to eat well. I'm a junk food junkie. I'll be honest with you, man. I love junk food. I've always loved junk food. And I believe, and this is the thing, this is what happens, cause you eat something, you feel guilty, right? What does that do? You upregulate serotonin in your body, which is a stress hormone. Then you get in this physical state of lethargy and you feel guilty and your mind's thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to add more weight. I have learned whatever I eat, I put energy behind it of just the end, which is, this is good for me. I know it seems like a fallacy and just this crazy fairy tale way to think. But when I do that, your body is a group of cells in an energy system, right? And your words have power. So if you're saying guilty words, even internal words to yourself, that voice in your head is telling yourself, oh, I'm going to gain weight. It's the worst thing I can do. I'm so guilty about this. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to fit into that dress. Those pants are going to be able to button up. If you start thinking that way, you will actually exacerbate the cellular structure of your body. It's scientifically proven. Your cells will actually multiply and create more fat cells. If you live in awareness, if you live in just gratitude for what this is, what happens is when you live that way, it becomes habitual. And you'll start choosing better food. You start realizing this food doesn't feel good, because food is energy. It doesn't feel good. It feels better to eat cleaner. Then I have more energy. And then that stacking effect happens. And then all of a sudden you find yourself on a better diet. I don't know, how did it work for you, Cause? I know you have worked through this before. What are some success tips you have?
Well, just it's a daily process, and you do have to eat clean. You know, I have more chins than a Chinese phone book right now. You know, I have to get back to the basics, but it really is basics. People will say, well, eat less, exercise more. Yeah.
Not that easy, is it?
What's the secret? Eat less and exercise more, right? There's got to be a deficiency of calories, take in less, burn off more. Yeah, but it's a constant battle. I come from a very shallow gene pool. So battling with weight has been something I've dealt with my whole life. And I remember I used to have a coach, running coach. And right after a session, he looked at me, he goes, you know, I have to be honest with you. I cannot empathize with you. And this is how he said it. He said, I have never coached a fat man before. So I don't know what you're going through. And I can't empathize with you. But it's simple. It's just not easy.
And you must have started a new habit. You must have got in a habitual pattern that stacked, right? Eventually you got momentum, you got inertia, and then eventually, right, it became easier because you got the payoffs. You got the payoffs.
It became a lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
And so in that year that I lost the 200 pounds, fortunate or unfortunately, I was on the road. So as I would go to a new city, I had been measured for a bike. And so I would go to, you know, the similar cities throughout the year. So when I was in Portland, I knew exactly where I was going to stay. So I found a bike shop by the Embassy Suites or by the Homeless Pete's in Portland. And I would email the specs of the bike and say, have a bike ready for me. And I would ride every night after work because I just didn't want to go back to the hotel because, you know, one more triple dipper and then the TV was not a good thing. So to that point, it's a lifestyle. And I adopted a lifestyle that really worked. And I'm not saying when I got off the road, it didn't work. It was, I had to find new habits. I had to find a new pattern. And so I did really well for a long time. And then, hi, I'm Cos Green. I'm an addict. I mean, you hit it right on the head. Food is my addiction. Food is my medication. And it's hard to break that sometimes. And you think, oh, today's the day. One day builds on another. Then you do it for a week, and then you do it for a month, and then those months turn into a year, and you're like, wow. But I think what we want to do in this now society is, I want to take a pill, I want to join this program, and I want it to happen this week. I will tell you, it is damn hard work because I really don't think it's the physical. I think the physical is a lot easier than the mental. Because the mind is, or, you know, the body's only going to follow the mind, and getting your mind to change and tapping into your reason why and finding the motivation every day, that is tough. And so for our viewers or listeners saying, gosh, where do you even start? You've got to start with why it's so important to you. And living in the now is all about being focused on why are you doing what you're doing. You can accomplish any what if you have a big enough reason why. But if you don't have the fuel for this, then you'll give up. I believe that persistence is the measure of belief that we have in ourselves. And because we all go through those feelings of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, right? And so the reminder always on this program is you are enough. You got to be kinder to yourself. Can you imagine treating somebody else the way you treat yourself mentally? We'd all be arrested for abuse, right? If I talk to anyone in my external world the way I talk to myself in my head, lock me up and throw away the key, because that's abuse. Living in the now, as I'm learning more from you, and I look forward to listening to and reading your book, and that's still coming up. Your copy of the book is just moments away, I promise. Stay tuned. I look forward to devouring your content. And everybody has a unique perspective. And that's why I love having these interviews, because everyone has a little different perspective. Even if we have similar thoughts, you come from different life experiences that have shaped you into the person you are. And your perspective could be the difference. There's one person watching or listening today. I know this to be true. There is one person who will watch this video, whether it's live on the on-demand on YouTube or listen to the podcast on the Cause Green audio experience, that you are talking to one-on-one.
Absolutely.
And everybody else is along for the ride. So I challenge all of us in our lives, you have a light for a reason. And there is always someone every day. There's one person out there every day that you can influence and impact. You've got to give that light to the world, and that one person, they'll step forward. And even if they don't tell you, you made a difference. So don't be judged by just the likes you're going to get today. Throw out your very best, pay it forward, and you will live in abundance, not scarcity.
That's the key, brother. You're talking about it.
Let's talk about your 5-day challenge.
Okay, yeah. So if you go to my website, billymandarino.com, you'll see there on the very first page is Manifest Your Perfect Future Now. It's a 5-day challenge. I'm going to be yapping at you 5 days in a row with a recorded video that's going to teach you how to manifest and how to get out of these patterns that we have in scarcity and lack, and just the subconscious programming that we all have if you're not aware of the present moment. You don't have habits and rituals that you apply to your life, so you can get out of that programming that we all tend to go in if you follow the masses. Follow the masses. Tony Robbins once says, follow the masses, but if you want a better way, you got to find out where the masses go and go the other direction. And that's what I'm teaching you. To be a nowist is somebody who lives consistently in the present moment. I make the claim that 90% of my day I live as a nowist. 10%, it hits the fan, it goes sideways, and it can be taught. And this first challenge, it's free. I want to teach you 5 different steps of how to manifest. And it starts with starting this new pattern, having an interruption of how you've been doing things. Because obviously, if you're listening to me and you're feeling this, and it's landing with that one person you were talking about, Cause, it's there for a reason. You've attracted this conversation that Cause and I are having into your life, because the universe is always there to serve you. It's called synchronicity. It's conspiring to help you, as Carl Jung coined that phrase so many years ago. Synchronicity, it's this event you think is just random. Like this will probably show up in somebody's feed miraculously. Like they didn't even, just an email showed up. Who's this Cause guy? And they'll click it and it'll change their life, because we're all here to be of service. It's not what's in it for me. It's how can I serve? We are all here to be of service. And God bless you for the work you're doing, because I know you come from that same servant heart. And then when you pay it forward, I call it you piff, pay it forward, you piff it. And I have these things called piff packs that my daughter and I created when I was young, when she was younger. And we were creating this service that we could give to people. We made these little bags at Costco with like beef jerky and water and socks. And we'd find homeless people and we give it to them. We called them piff packs. So we could just pay it forward. So I wanted to teach her at the age of 3 what it was like to be of service for somebody they really couldn't even get a thank you for. And if you can pay it forward in your life and your day, and you're just living and giving in the world, your life is going to get better, because you're going to pay it forward. And it's come from that place of how can I give, not what's in it for me. And when you want a change to happen in your life, just look out. The change is coming, because you're acting like the great source. And I love Hafiz, this great Persian poet. He says, just look at the sun. The sun never says to the earth, you owe me. Just imagine what a love like that can do. It lights up the whole sky. Be like the sun, just give and don't ask for thank yous. And that's how we shift ourselves out of what we're in right now as a planet, as a society, as a culture, is by just paying it forward, not asking for anything in return. Just give. Like these Zoomers to boomers here in Santa Barbara, they're inspiring me, because they're not getting any money. They're just paying. They're helping the elderly community of this city. We just can all take a page out of them and just go find a way to serve, and then pay it forward. And now don't ask for anything in return, and watch how your life gets better, because it's just you're acting like that sun. You're just giving it away for free.
Hey, it was interesting in our pre-show. So to be transparent, Billy and I don't know each other from Adam. I learned about Billy, and so I just reached out and said, Billy, I want you on the show. And he is here today. And before we actually went live, we spent about 10, 15 minutes together. And I was just blown away by so many things that are just synchronicity or anyway.
Synchronicity.
Well, synchronicity, yeah, that are in sync. I was going to say use it as a verb, the synchronous. There we go. That are synchronous. But it's amazing when you put it out to the world and then just have the courage to act. So when I saw your content, the natural tendency is, oh, he's too busy, whatever. I reached out, and here we are just a couple of days later. So whatever you need in life, viewers and listeners, my friends, put it out there. And as woo, right? It's not voodoo. It's not magic. It's not witchery. It's real that as you think differently, great things will come into your life. But as Billy's saying, we need to be that inverse paranoid. Most people are paranoid saying, oh, the whole world's conspiring to get me, instead of when I'm better at this and I look around every day and I say, the whole world is conspiring to do me good. It's amazing what happens.
It's just a shift. It's just a shift in thinking and a shift in your word.
And that's right. And shift happens. If we really need, if we really will listen in the now, shift happens.
And start now. I mean, there's no time, right? There's no better time than now. I hate to be campy, but truly, and the Zen aphorism is, if not now, when, right? There's nothing holding you back from having a new thought and a new habit. It's simple. It's just about, will you do it? It's all well and good, but will you do it? Just take that first step. Like literally, you got nothing to lose. And you can call me crazy, woo-woo, whatever. But I promise you, if you learn to breathe, if you learn to chart, change your habits, get off the infobesity that is the network news and the things that are trying to serve you nothing but what they want, their agenda. I hate to go on a soapbox, but I'm just saying you have to interrupt your patterns.
We
have to interrupt your patterns, and you have to start today. Like after you watch this, start it. Either download go to my YouTube channel, go to billymandarino.com, start something new, because your point of attraction will change. And with that point of attraction, you find out how to pay it forward to people, and you start living in this other world that you didn't know was possible. All you did was shift your thinking and started a new habit. It's so simple, but people make it too big because they think about the end, not from the end. About the end, it's like, oh my gosh, what are my family going to think of me? Or it's going to take too much time. I don't have the time. I've got the kids. I got the job. I'm working so much right now, and I'm just stressed. I have no energy. But the crazy thing is, when you learn to live as a nowist, your energy upregulates. Your mind is clear. You start choosing things that serve you instead of things that you want to be served by. You just go serve them. And that's how you shift your life. It's about being. It's a way of living. And when you become a nowist, watch out. You're just going to serve other people, and you're going to be this light that people want to be around. People, you enter a room, people are going to feel your presence before you even get in there, because you're coming from a place of how can I serve, not what's in it for me. And it's just total shift. Shift happens.
Shift happens. Absolutely. And it's not what's in it for me, but what's in it for thee. And that paradigm shift. If we can do that, because ego is the enemy. And as you said, Dr. Wayne Dyer said, ego is edging God out. The ego is the enemy. And that's a battle we fight every day, trying to combat the ego. It is literally the greatest battle we will ever face in our lives, are between those two dudes or ladies on our shoulders.
Yep.
The two voices. And it's hard to squelch that voice and the saboteur that says, you're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not smart enough. Got to tune that.
Enough already, right? Enough already.
Enough already. Down, boy,
exactly.
Down.
Exactly.
Let's tell our viewers and our listeners how to get their free copy of The Nowist.
It is my great honor to walk my talk and to be of service to you, dear listeners and viewers. I am going to, Cause Green, thank you so much for doing this. I am going to give away free books to anybody that will go to billymandarino.com, click on the Nowist tab, and there's a free book. You just click, put your email address in, put your name in. I've already bought it for you. I'm going to autograph it personally and mail it to your home. It's my gift to you. I'm going to walk my talk and pay it forward.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
I thought it was just an electronic download. I was being all
paperback, brother. Paperback.
Wow, this is like Oprah today. Yes. The studio audience is going absolutely nuts.
I can hear them.
How long's that offer though? Because things live on YouTube and on podcast now there's another word. It's in per. Yeah. in perpetuity. So how long is that offer good?
So I've realized that, especially during these times that we're dealing with, these two catalytic events that have happened in our world, that I need to be of service in a bigger way. That's why the universe synchronistically brought us together, because you have a great audience. You have people that understand what you're talking about, what your heart is about. And so I'm in alignment with you. And I look at the synchronicity of that. So I think I'm going to serve for the least 30 days. For 30 days, if you go to Billy Mandarino, send your friends there. I don't care. I'm going to send out books to people. I want people
to sell a lot of big Malibu houses to pay for all those books that are going to be going out.
Well, I'm on Audible. If you want to download and hear me, I've recorded the entire book in my voice. I'm a musician. I did original music. You can go to Amazon and download the Audible version. But if you want the paperback version, go to billymandarino.com, the Nowist tab, and I will autograph and mail a book to your home.
Wow. Okay, that is not what I thought. I thought we're going to go. I hadn't done it yet. I signed up for the 5-day challenge, but I hadn't gone to request a free copy of the book. So we don't do this every week, guys. So please take advantage of this awesome, awesome offer to get a free copy of the Nowist, so you can join and be a legionnaire of the Nowist movement.
That's what I'm talking about. That's why I'm doing all this, to shift this planet out of fear and worry and stress and anxiety back to present moment awareness, where we live if we just take the time and create this new habit of being that way. And that's what my work is, to do that. That's why I've been all over the world speaking, giving keynote speeches, lectures. Next May 7th and 8th, about 11 months away, I will have the very first Nowist experience live here in Santa Barbara at the Hotel Marmonte. We're only going to host 111 people.
111. Okay, 11. Well, yes. Now you only have to find 110, and I'm being serious about that.
Yes, brother. It's going to be incredible. And real quick, we talked about 1111 being the number of synchronicity.
There's no real quick. See, we're not up against a hard network break. I mean, this isn't the other guy.
Fantastic. No commercial time right now. I need it. You and I, Cos, before we went live, we talked about 11 years for you, and today is the 11th. And the place across the street from I live here at Santa Barbara at East Beach. It's across the street from this beautiful beach. But next door to me is the Hotel Marmonte, which is a gorgeous hotel, Spanish Mediterranean hotel. It's going through a 3-year renovation. They're almost done. So I am going to hold my very first Nowist Experience Live seminar in this beautiful hotel. You know what the address to this hotel is?
Oh, it's got to be 1111, whatever the street name
is. It's 11.
Are you serious?
It's 1111 Cabrillo Boulevard.
Wow.
That's why I'm holding I was going to do it at all those other places. I said, no, the signs of synchronicity will tell me this is where it's going to be. And my birthday is May 6th. So next year,
May 7th
and 8th, I'm going to have my very first Nowist Experience Live. I'm going to start posting this on my page. You can buy tickets. You can sign up. There's going to be a hotel room.
You lost me there. So May 7th
and 8th.
Of your birthday is
21.
Oh, of 21. See, I'm doing the math. You know, I did really well with math, and then I got swept up in all this Common Core hooey, and now I got to think through it again. Because your birthday's 11.
My birthday is May 6th.
Yeah, but May is the 5th month.
Exactly.
So 5 plus 6 is 11.
Now you're talking like a Nowist.
No, didn't you? You're serious? That's what I thought you were getting at, was your birthday's May 6th. And I was like, oh, May 6th. Yeah, 5 plus 6 is even this clown can.
Dude, you know what? Dude, speaking like a California, bro. I honestly, I can be an all heart on. I did not know that my birthday was 11, 5 and 6. I never made that correlation.
No, don't yank my.
I swear to God, I've never made that correlation, brother.
Really? Because I thought that's where you were going with this.
No, I've never thought of it. I find signs and synchronicities. My book is full of synchronistic events. The 17th chapter is called The Journey Journal. And there's like 40 different accounts of these of crazy synchronistic things that you couldn't even write in a movie. Just crazy cosmic universal alignments that show up in animals. Yeah. So thank you for that. Now I have another 11 in my life.
Well, that is actually kind of funny when you said that. That's why when you said it was the, May 7th and 8th, I'm like, okay, that's not 11, but your birthday's 11. So that's fun. That's awesome.
You added another synchronicity to me.
So give us another gem or jewel about 11 then. I'm trying to think what else is 11. So Billy and I were talking about something that, happened to me 11 years ago, next week. And I've talked about it before, so we don't need to dive into that. But how my life was saved through a miracle. And that just gave crystal clear purpose to my life. And so 11 years ago, today's the 11th, there were all these 11s emerging during our pre-show. So you'll find what you're looking for. Have you ever seen the movie Focus with Will Smith and
I love that movie.
Margot Robbie when they're at that football game? And you know what I'm talking about. If you've never seen the movie, folks, Focus, even if you just go to YouTube and you look up this scene and they go to this football game, and just the way I won't tell you about the, basically the bet that he can't like project this number to this guy. And then you realize all through the day how the guy had been programmed to think of this number, but we find what we're looking for. So if you make Titanic type Poseidon adventure movies in your head every day, you will live that life. But if you can step back and be the creator of so much good, you have the capability to do it. You really do.
That's powerful, Cos. I love that.
What part?
I love what you just said, because we're talking about synchronicities, and I want to tell you a quick 11-11. Because what you talked about, how those Titanic movies, the mental movies that you create. Like I was talking earlier about how my daughter and I are together, or my wife and I are together. And I feel like I literally audibly hear strings, I hear cellos, I hear soft drums, I might even hear some, Spanish guitar. I hear it because I score my life as a conscious conductor. I literally am in sync, but most people score their life with that angsty, hardcore music that makes them feel intense. And so what do you think is going to be attracted to your life? What do you think? The law of attraction is never broken. So what do you think? If that's your focus, they say energy flows where your focus goes. If your focus is there, don't be surprised when something of that ilk shows up in your life. And that's what happens. Without awareness, without present moment awareness, you can't consciously conduct your life. So what I have learned as a nowist is, synchronicity and these signs and these symbols show up. That's why the subtitle of the book is Finding the Signs to Your Ultimate Desires in No Time. Because the book teaches you how to follow the signs. And so a 11-11 sign, you'll appreciate this because we're on that 11-11 kick right now. And Carl Jung coined the phrase synchronicity. But, I worked at Nordstrom's years and years ago, and I was the manager of the women's shoe department. And I was in this job 11 years. And I was telling you, my wife and I have been married for 11 years. And we decided, man, we didn't want kids. But all of a sudden, at the same time, we absolutely had to have a child more than anything in the world. And that was 11 years. And 11 years, I said, you know what? I'm not going to be a retail dad. I'm not going to just stay here and miss the summer when my wife's a high school teacher, where I'm working all summer and she's off with a baby, with a child who's going to be on summer as well in school. I'm going to go to a different profession. So I went to real estate so I could have more of a flexible schedule. And so that was 11 years. And I've been a realtor for 11 years, a couple of years ago. No, a couple of years ago. So 11 years in real as Nordstrom's, department manager, 11 years as a realtor. And that's when this nowist chose me.
Really?
11 years in both. And this is the next chapter. So it was 11 years of both. And there's 11-11, which is my number for synchronicity. That when you look with different eyes, when you pay attention, the signs are there. The spiritual breadcrumbs are there. You just got to learn to follow them.
How did the nowist come through you? Because I believe these great works in our life, our purposes don't come to us. They come through us to bless the lives of others. How did the nowist come through you?
Amen. That is a great question. I'm so glad you asked it, because I wouldn't have thought to bring it in to our conversation until you felt compelled to say that, to bring it out. And that's a huge story in itself. And I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version. One, living in stress, anxiety, overwhelm was pretty common for me. I used to get cold sores on my lips. I remember being in high school, a girl would break up with me and I would just break out in cold sores, stress, like it would be part of my physiology. And we know there's been studies proven, like if you go on YouTube and see this psychological experiment for like I don't know, it was UCLA or USC, but they had a hot poker for this girl, and she was blindfolded, and they'd bring it past her face. They had an eraser for a pencil. And then they said, we're going to touch your arm with one of these points. And they touched her with the eraser, and this huge blister showed up on her arm. And it only came from her mind. And my cold sores came the same way. I dealt with stress and anxiety as a young person, and I had millions of cold sores probably in my life, literally up to the point of awareness. And this now is part of living that overcame me. and the present moment awareness that overcame me. And so one day I was watching a YouTube, and it was Dr. Wayne Dyer. And Dr. Wayne Dyer was talking about being an author and writing a book. And I thought, I didn't go to college. I'm not going to write a book. I don't even like writing emails. Like, how am I going to write a book? And synchronistically, this download, I woke up one day and just the word nowist, like I live as a nowist. And then I got up every morning at 4:30 without an alarm clock, like source, inspiration, divine mind got me up. And I would sit at the kitchen table that I'm sitting at right now, giving this interview to you. For 9 months, I got up at 4:30 in the morning for 2-3 hours. And I wrote 65,000 words without writer's block, without an outline, without anything, no structure. And that's the book that is the Nowist. And that teaching came through me, not for me or from me.
Yeah, that's why I believe that our missions come through us, not to us. It's not ours. Right. That's not yours.
That's why I don't say it's my book. I say it's the Nowist teachings. And if I slip, it's a Freudian slip. I don't mean to say it. It's my ego talking. I'm still working on. You know, it's
well, in an age where everybody is an ist, right?
Yeah.
We're all being accused of is this, is that, and it could be positive or negative. I definitely want to learn to be a better nowist. I think that is just a wonderful concept, and I can get my mind around NOW, and backwards, if you're dyslexic, is WON, because you will win when you live in the now.
That's right. That's why it's a simple teaching from the book, the most basic. I speak at middle schools and high schools, and I give about an hour-long keynote. It's called, The Art of Attracting Your Future Now. And it's teaching largely for a younger mind with simple concepts like that and other takeaways to help them in that hour realize that their imagination is the greatest gift that's ever been given to them. You can focus on what it is you want with your imagination, even when times are tough. You put your energy in your present moment, energy in your breath connected to that thought, you can attract change in your life. You can be that change that Gandhi talked about in the world. And that's what we need to hear. You need to be the change you want to see in the world. You don't have to go out and affect change in another way. Just be that individual light for other people and change your thinking and your patterns of focus and your routines and your rituals. And you can become a nowist. And then what happens is you just want to pay it forward. We have a bunch of anything, a bunch of money, a bunch of food, a bunch of anything. You just want to give it away if that's your heart. And that's my heart. So the more I get, the more I give. And then what happens is the more you give, the more you receive. And it's just this beautiful cycle of just this loop of abundance. It just flows. I call it avalanches of abundance. Just keep flowing into your life. Then you get more, then you just want to give away more. That's how you change the world.
But it really is that shift from scarcity to abundance. And I know whether you're talking about money or relationships or blessings, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of what we're seeing, and this is not political, I'm just saying for us as a society in general, because this movement that's happening not only in the U.S. is happening in other big cities around the world, and we're putting different labels around it. And okay, if you say that's what you're doing, because anyway, stealing big screens TV does not help the cause. CAUSE. I mean, just imagine if we really took the time to do what you're talking about. Let me just check. Let's see. I bet you know. Yeah,
I love that.
That's awesome. Oh, there's several of them now.
Miko, she's amazing. I know Miko very well.
But I wasn't, when we were talking about that, I hadn't paid attention. Pacific time, right when you were talking about it 3 minutes ago or so, it was 1:11. That's just
see the synchronicity. See how people get it? They get it. I mean, you can just shine a light on it so they can see it, because most of us are kind of caught in that darkness a little, right? You shine the light, and that's what that is. It's awareness, and with that awareness, you can shift everything.
That's just amazing. That's awesome. We got
to experience that together too, brother. Right? The synchronicity.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But you were just talking about you get those little chills.
Yeah.
You know what? I live for the chills.
Me too, man. That's when you know it's an alignment.
I was on stage on Saturday, and I stepped up to the flip chart. There's probably about 60 people, and I just went, whoa. I just had the most amazing deja vu. And as I said it, that feeling just, overcame me, and I live for those moments. And people are like, well, how often do you get those? As often as I will as I will be in the now to allow them to happen, they happen every single day.
And they don't happen cause when you're interrupting that pattern, when you're out of alignment, because when you experience that, you're in alignment because you're acting like the great source. You're acting like the unity consciousness, the divine matrix, whatever you call it. You're part of that and you experience it because you're in alignment with it. If you look at the cover of my book, you'll see that there's a horizontal line. Okay. You see that horizontal line? And then there's a vertical line.
Pull up.
So if you look at the cover of the book, this is a great teaching. It's the very first chapter of the book. It's called the Nowist Symbol. And it speaks to what you're talking about having the chills right now. And this is it's a technology. It's not a symbol of a religious sense, or it's a spiritual symbol, but it's not the traditional symbol. When you look at it, you think it's the cross. This is a technology. So when you have the Nowist symbol, and you'll notice that from left to right, there's this horizontal line, right? That horizontal line. That represents.
Do you see that?
Yeah, I got it. That horizontal line, that's past future. Okay. And then you see the vertical line. The vertical line, that's divine time. That's eternal time. If you notice in the very middle, there's like this little explosion of light. When you can cross divine time, which is eternal time, and chronological time, which is past future, that crossification is the now. When you're out of time-bound selves, and you're in this present moment awareness where you take a breath, when you're out of the physical world and physical time and the doings of being a human doing, not a human being, when you can cross those two, that's the now. That's why it's a reminder. It's a technology. It's a now a symbol because it teaches you. And if you look at all four of those beings, I don't know if you can see this with your imagination right now, Cause, but they look like little guys, or girls with their hands.
I see. So it's not the New Orleans Saints symbol.
No,
repeated. That's not the Boy Scouts. Okay.
Right. But you see those four symbols? It's like a being hovering above this center of light. You see those four beings?
Yeah.
And that center is the Nowist symbol. That's the Nowist. When you take yourself out of chronological time into the present moment.
Because I'm a student of these things. Is that your symbol, or that's a symbol from something that you've attached Nowist to? Okay.
When you read the very first chapter, I don't want to give it away. The very first chapter teaches you and explains to you how that symbol found me. And I'm just going to give a teaser.
Okay,
read chapter 1, and you'll see how that symbol came into my awareness and how it is now the Nowist symbol, which is a trademark symbol. It is the actual Nowist symbol, which is the impetus for the teaching. And the synchronicity that brought that symbol to me is another miraculous story. But it's a technology. It's not a symbol. Like, it just teaches you when you get out of chronological past thinking and you get in this present moment awareness with your breath, when you cross those times, that's the present moment. Those two intersect, and living in that vertical, that is divine time. And when you cross it with timeline, that's the now. And you can get there when you do that. You get your awareness in infinity, and because there's no time in the now. The time is timeless. There's no time in the now. The past future, it takes a past and a future to create a timeline. But in the present moment, it's eternal. There's only this one now moment. And when you get in the vertical, which is in divine time, which is straight up to God, which is eternal time, those two cross, there's the now. And it's just a reminder and a quick way to get into it.
So what does that look or feel like when the two intersect? How would we identify that in our lives? So tell me about the intersection. What does that look or feel like?
Perfect example. I'll give you one, because what happens for everyday life, most people, we get caught up in our doings, right? We've got our schedules, we've got our emails, our kids to school, or taking care of kids at home with lunches and food. And I'm thinking about a housewife right now that has a lot of work to do, but also I actually work from home. You get so caught up in the doing that your awareness is focused so much. Oh my gosh, and the kids, they got to get them to bed, or I've got to make their lunches, or I've got to make sure I can make this appointment. I want to go to Zumba, but I don't know if I have time. And you're thinking about these past future times. There's no room for the present moment in that. You're caught in chronological time, past future time. But when you can, in this moment, take a breath and just use your imagination, just get in this moment, and you imagine what this moment feels like out of chronological time. And you can get in what's called the vertical time, like straight up to God, eternal time, where there is no past or future. And it comes with using your imagination. That's why I say hovering above the earth. That's when you look at the Nowist symbol, it looks like these four beings hovering above this globe of light. And you look at the back of the book, if you had a shot of the back, it shows this light, that Nowist symbol above the earth. So if you could take yourself out of physical time, the gravity of your problems in physical past future time, you would get to the present moment because you've intersected past future thinking with present moment awareness. And when those two spots cross, that's the now. Thus the now is symbol.
Wow, that's powerful. And that's, now I've pulled it up on the screen so you can see the 4 symbols of the book. Those are the 4 symbols that then laid over the top of each other make up that entire now a symbol.
Exactly.
That's powerful.
Yeah, that's the work. And just getting in that consistently is when you start to program yourself, your subconscious programming. And then all of a sudden, these emotionally, socially, spiritually, financially, your life starts to change because your point of attraction changes because you're living as a nowist and you're not living in past, the tragedies and the worries of the past or the hopes and dreams of the future that are out there that you have to move your physical body through time to get there. In this present moment, you're thinking from the end as if it's already done. Living in that end in this present moment. It's like, I call it, surrendering to the Sabbath, because the word Sabbath means to come from the end. We traditionally think of Sabbath as the Sunday, the last day, but the word Sabbath means to come to the end. So you think from the end, not about the end. You're living in that nowist. And you have this nowist prowess, if you will, where you're living that way consistently. And that's the work. And that's the habitual way of living that'll start to change your life. You'll start to change other people's life because living as a nowist is really some of the best work you could do in this planet as this being that you are in chronological time.
Dang it, you had me until you started throwing out 4-letter words like work. It's work, isn't it? It is work.
To me, it's the joy. Literally, when you start doing this, it doesn't feel like work because the payoffs are so rich and so quick because it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to live in past future awareness because that feeling that gave you the chills recently, that was not, you can't try to get the chills. You can't I want to feel that infinite feeling I get when I get the chills because I'm aligned with it. You can't try it. You can only be it. There's no doing in that. There's just allowing and alignment. Here's a really quick story, I think it was Harvard professors that were trying to figure out how to get their brain waves from beta to alpha. There's beta, alpha, theta, delta, gamma. Those are like the 5 brainwave states. To go from beta to alpha, they were just trying to do meditation, they're trying to do yoga, trying to breathe, and they couldn't get the graph to get them into the next lower wave of brainwaves, which is alpha. And finally, the professor just gave up. It was like late nights, gave up, and boom, he went right into alpha. There was no doing, he was just being done. And that is, I think of that example as the symbol and as the analogy kind of for getting out of your own way and getting in alignment by surrendering. Surrender. Michael Singer's book, The Untethered Soul, that book taught me a lot about surrender and surrendering to what is, even your problems, and no resistance. That is where you find there's a shift. Talking about shift happening, that's when you experience a shift, when you can learn to surrender.
And surrendering to what could be, not what was, right?
Exactly. That's the growth. The unknown is where the growth is. You got to be willing to go to that unknown.
Billy, I want to say thank you very much for being here today and sharing your very valuable time with our viewers and our listeners. Thanks for sacrificing a listing or a sale for a few minutes. But thank you for carrying the torch of being a nowist. I know there was someone on this broadcast today or who may listen to the replay that will benefit from the message. And I will see you May 7th and 8th in Santa Barbara.
2021, the Nowist Experience Live. I'm so honored. I'm in the process of producing it now. It's going to be awesome. So check my site, billymandarino.com. There will be tickets on sale. You can also book hotels there. It's a 2-day live seminar here in sunny Santa Barbara, the American Riviera. It's been my honor, Thank you, brother, for the work you do, for hosting this. I'm just honored to speak to your audience and your viewers. And God bless you, man, because your soul is huge. Your heart is huge.
Well, thank you very much, Billy, for accepting the invitation and making this happen, taking time out of your busy schedule for a lovely chat. Have a wonderful day. And again, go to billymandarino.com. Click on that link for the Nowist book. And for the next few days, if you take advantage of that, Billy's actually going to autograph a hard copy of the book and mail it to you. I thought it was just a digital download. So even I was blown away today by Billy going above and beyond for our viewers and listeners. So please take advantage of that. Billy, thank you. God bless you and your wonderful family, and be safe there in Santa Barbara.
Thank you, brother. Wishing you all the blessed, my man.
All the blessed. I like that. That was not a slip, right?
That's I sign all my books wishing you all the blessed.
I like that. All the blessed. Well, that will be my mantra today. So all the blessed, brother.
Same to you, my man.
Bye-bye.
Peace.